We had an event here for the first time last month, 2 months ago, and every 10 minutes we learned that like these chairs just move. So I just need to ask you up front, if you spin out of control, am I allowed to move you back to the center?
Please do.
All right, so here's the other rule. We have microphones, and we should just use them. Let's turn them on. So you got to turn them on.
Hello.
Can you guys hear? Okay. I always fight. I have this story when I was in 8th grade. I gave my first public speech, and I had a microphone. I didn't know how to use it, so I gave the entire presentation like that, and no one could hear me. And now I'm just like really scared of microphones. But we'll use it.
Britney Spears style.
That's right. All right, Rosemary, so the way that we're going to kick things off is I want to ask you this question. 2 years ago, if I were to ask you where you thought you'd be today, 2 years later, what would you tell me?
I would have said that I would be talking to community customers who want a SaaS platform to engage with their customers and their fans and their partners for our existing business, Social Strata.
And what's that existing business? What was that existing? It's still around. What is the?
It's still alive, yes, actually thriving. Just got a new customer last week, so we're not dead yet, as they say on Monty Python. No, it's Social Strata, and we have a platform called Hoopla, and it's a great interactive platform to engage with customers, fans, internal teams, et cetera. Folks like Pinterest and Dun & Bradstreet are using it right now, very happily.
What problems does it solve?
It solves that disconnect between going out to Facebook, putting all your business out on Facebook, versus just keeping stuff all inside internally. It gives folks a platform where they can have that engagement in a controlled space that they own.
Okay, so give us the quick backstory of how you came to found Social Strata. Did you always know you were going to be an entrepreneur? You stumbled into it? Why did you come up with this idea, and why did you decide to jump all in?
I was not born an entrepreneur. I married into entrepreneurship, but I'm so excited that I did. I didn't realize I had that bone until I found my husband, Ted. He was noodling around one night, and he invented this message board software called the Ultimate Bulletin Board, and it went kind of nuts. That was 1996. It was the most downloaded thing on the internet. He basically invented viral marketing by putting a powered by UBB at the bottom of every page of the downloadable. It went nuts. We were pulling checks out of our PO box, and I think our banker thought that I was like some kind of drug dealer or something, because I would go with this wad of checks, because it was like $50 or something, and just have her, I need to deposit this. And along the way, it became an actual business. 20 years later, we had people knocking on the door who were larger businesses, and just slowly came along, went from a downloadable to an actual online platform.
Okay, so what were you doing before Social Strata?
I was in corporate marketing. I was working for an environmental company called HSI Geotrans. So I was working for the man.
You're working for the man, and you start Social Strata. Your husband, his name is Ted,
yeah.
Right? So Ted creates this viral thing in 1996, which probably means like 200 people downloaded it, right? Like
oh, no. Millions.
Millions?
Yeah.
Millions of people are online in 96? I'm just dating myself. I'm just kidding.
I'm just not even going to answer that.
So no, you got some early traction on that initial product. You decide to turn it into a company, Social Strata. And what happens once you start that company? Is it a slow build? Is it a deliberate effort to scale quickly? What are you and Ted talking about in terms of the goals early on?
Yeah, it was really interesting. During that time, it was very unusual and weird for things to not be downloadable. Everyone was just, you buy the software, you get a license, you download it to your computer, and you use it. So we started from that mode. Over the first few years of the company, when we're deciding both to go all in and actually quit our day jobs and do this, it morphed into a situation where everyone was hosting software. So we had to overcome this giant hurdle of telling people that it's okay to not have your software on your computer in your house. It's okay for it to live somewhere out there. This was pre the cloud. And so it was a whole new horizon there, and we had a lot of difficulty, a lot of challenges explaining that to your average person who just wanted a message board just to talk to whoever, their club, their group.
So over time, when did you launch that company?
We officially, 1998 was our start date for Social Strata Incorporation.
And what was the end goal? Was it just to build it? Was it to sell it? Lifestyle business? Acquire business? What was the initial plan?
I think we thought it was a lifestyle business, but it was a thing that came along in its time, and it was important, and we realized, I think, that we were riding the crest of a wave. This was really before the big social networks got a lot of traction, and so everyone from Warner Brothers on down to the club down the street wanted to have a place where their people could talk online, and we were serving that business really well. So, it was flying out the doors, and so we sort of were dragged willingly from a lifestyle business into a real business.
Did you ever think of raising capital, or was the idea to always self-fund that business?
We did discuss it. We came very close to taking some money way back during the first dot-com bubble. And I'm so glad we didn't, because a lot of those companies that did take money ended up spending it on air-on chairs and trips to places and stuff, and flaming out really fast. The VCs taking control of the company and not doing good things for the customer. So we ended up not taking any money. We've been bootstrapped for 20 years. We've been actually funded from profits.
Congratulations. That's a rare thing these days. So what did growth look like then between that time, 2001, when you were thinking of taking money, you didn't, to let's say 2015?
So we actually, at that point, we had moved out to Seattle. We built a team. We actually learned how to do things like set up payroll and run a real business and actually get customers. We've never had to do much advertising. Very fortunate in that this was something that people wanted. So over that period of time, we did very little outward promotion. We were just kind of handling the stuff that was coming at us. Constant stream of emails and people coming to the website. Along the way, we made a couple mistakes trying to be too big, I think. You start to think, oh, we're a real company now. We need to, have retreats, and we need to have a beautiful website that has, super designers involved, and it's easy to get sidetracked on that stuff. So that was kind of something I learned along the way. Like, you really need to stay focused on the product and the customer.
Well, it sounds like over the 20 years since it's been around, and maybe longer, it's been a successful business. So why change things up? When did you get the idea to start to think differently about the problems you were working to solve?
Yeah, I think that everybody probably can see over the last maybe 4 years or so, there's been a growing tidal wave of disgruntlement, I'll say. Is that a word? Disgruntlement with the current way that content is treated online. Basically, the people contributing are the commodity instead of the content. You're being sold as the product. If you're not paying for something, it's being leveraged through advertising. So what happened was, about a year ago, we've been having these sorts of conversations. Ted, he's the visionary, I'm the marketing person. We make a good, weird, symbiotic team. He started thinking about ways that we could attack that in a more populist way. Because with our software, we were really addressing businesses and entities and associations. But we could see, having been talking about engagement and community and people talking online all this time, we kind of had that high-level view of the way things are when people post content and they're sharing things online. Wouldn't it be cool if we could do something on a much grander scale that would benefit, that would disintermediate all these companies that are profiting off of people's personal data?
I get it. But what does that mean in terms of social strata at that point? That's not a problem that you're willing to solve, or what did you, as you're having these conversations about what the future could be, how do you start to evolve that thinking into, well, maybe this idea could be a company of its own?
I think what came along, because we decided that the key was crypto, that would allow us to immediately get a war chest to devote to this project, which probably would have been just a skunkworks project at any company, normally we might have said, okay, this is a cool idea. We might work on it in the background and see if it does anything. What happened is Ted, who had been kind of dabbling in crypto just on a personal level, had this moment of, okay, this thing that I've been dreaming up, we could actually get it done. And because it's a community, have the community fund the community that they want. It was kind of a beautiful situation there. So we decided to plunge in and do a token sale for fundraising for that project. Decided not to have it be Social Strata because Social Strata is its own functioning organism. It's going great, customers are happy, they're doing their thing, and it's pretty radically different than the model that we're doing for Narrative.
Okay, so before the token sale though, how do you formalize the idea? Is it just Ted like writing on a message board like, buy my token, or is there something that is a deeper level of understanding of what it is you're trying to build?
Yeah, so in crypto world, the first thing you do is write a white paper a lot of times. So he actually came to me one day. He had said something crazy about this before the white paper, and I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. I don't understand what crypto is, but okay, cool. Then he actually sat down and he wrote the white paper, and it's probably 40, 60 pages long. It's pretty detailed, and he gave it to me. And after I read it, I went to him and I said, we need to do this.
I know what a white paper is conceptually, but I really don't know what it means in the startup world. So if I were to write a white paper and hand it to one of my investors, I think they would just like laugh at me.
Yes.
So why is a white paper a thing in the crypto world? And like, what was the outcome that you were working towards by investing time in creating it?
That's a funny question. I don't know why white papers were, like, instead of doing a business plan, in the normal world, you would do a business plan. In crypto world, and things have changed a little bit, I should say, at this point in time. You can't just post up a white paper and genie in the bottle. That's a different world at this moment. But at that moment in time, if you had a great idea and you could explain it cogently in a certain way, almost like a research paper, where you explain the problem, you explain the solution, you explain the technology you want to use in some detail. In our case, there was a whole token economy and content economy that had to be described. He laid it out in detailed enough that our spec that we're about to release is pretty much mapped out to what he described a year ago in the white paper.
So I want a quick pulse of the room. So 1 to 5, 5 crypto expert, 1 heard of it but don't really know what it is. Raise your hand. Where are you guys in the crypto world?
Oh, I see a 4.
Okay. So we got a pretty diverse.
5, Molly?
That's
That's our COO.
So maybe kind of start top macro level. I mean, obviously, the white paper is 60 or 80 pages. We can't go into all the detail, but talk about some of the technology benefits of using crypto, and then if you wouldn't mind, just distilling it down to like the top 3 things that you were most excited about with the white paper and why you were willing to take a bet on this idea.
So everyone go grab a beer, we'll talk. So the reason this really thrilled me is because I knew we were going to be going up against the big boys, big social. And they have more money than pretty much 90% of the planet all put together. So how do you tackle that? How do you go up to someone and say, well, we're going to compete with even Reddit? I wouldn't say even Facebook or Twitter, maybe Reddit, or there's a competitor called Steemit. There are a few other platforms out there, Medium. But that gave us that immediate war chest, and we knew that we could raise funds. We raised $5 million with the token sale. If you told me, 2 years ago, Rosemary, that you are going to do this thing online and people are going to just send you money based on something you posted online and you're going to get $5 million from thousands of random people around the world, I would have said you're completely out of your mind, go away.
Let's dive into that. So if people are spending $5 million, clearly they believe in the world that you are describing in this white paper. So what is the world when narrative is successful? what do you see differently than what exists today?
The world is, you should be able to just sit down and create content, whether it's words, text, ultimately video and other types of content. You should be able to be the creator. You should reap the benefits and the value that is created by that content that you're creating. You also should be in charge of what happens to that content afterwards. There should be no nefarious little terms of service where, oh, by the way, we own your stuff now. You should be able to edit it and delete it when you decide to do so. You should be able to keep control of your own profile data. So anything you share with the system should belong to you and you alone. You should not be served up content based on what psychological experiment I dream up to see if I can make you happy or sad based on the content I'm sharing to you. You should be able to subscribe to content that you want to see and then see it. Weird, crazy idea. You should not be manipulated by people that you can't see and you don't know the names of. Your content should not be deleted or your account arbitrarily taken down by people that you don't know or that you don't even know the reason why it's taken down. I mean, I could go on. I'm a little passionate about this. And I'm gonna you're making me circle away. I'm gonna be talking to the wall. So yeah, that's my world, and I think people should be in charge of making their own decisions about their own content online, essentially.
I'm in. I love it. So I read this white paper. You're talking something that I'm new to, right? And you said you did a token sale. So for the people that are at the ones and twos, like myself in the room, help us understand what that means. So instead of raising money from venture capitalists or using your own investment that you've made from another company, you take this other route to raise funds. And can you describe what that is and what that process is like?
It's very much like a Kickstarter, except way more scary. Basically, like a Kickstarter, you explain your project, you tell what it is. In our case, we had a white paper, we had a website, and we invested some money in actually marketing it and getting the word out about it a little bit. And it's just an open period of time when people can contribute, just like a Kickstarter, and send their money. In our case, we were accepting the funds in crypto. So instead of kicking in US dollars, they're kicking in our case, NEO, which is a cryptocurrency. But a lot of the projects do Ethereum. And basically, once we have control over that funds, we can do whatever we want with it. Now the regulators are currently looking at that system to try and put some controls in so that there are some shady characters out there who are taking advantage of the system. It's a little Wild West right now. But so once we had those funds, we could start actually building this thing we promised to build. So,
well, do people give money through this mechanism because they're altruistic and they believe in your vision, or is there something in it for them?
Yeah, so some people, I don't know the breakdown. I'd like to know at some point, but some percentage of people, yes, they heard things like what I was just saying, and they're like, yes, Braveheart, I'm coming with you. I want to be on board with this thing. And those people are still hanging around in our community and cheering us on and watching the beta emerge and all of that. There's another percentage of people, speculators and investors, who come in, and part of what they do is they trade in, these are called altcoins, these tokens that are not Bitcoin or Ethereum or all these other tokens, the main tokens. They trade those and they speculate that the value is going to increase over time, or you can short them too, it may decrease. So they're purely coming in from an investor standpoint. Those people typically are very upset right now because until you have a product, there's not going to be any value created for the token itself because it was created as part of our platform. Once the platform gets going, those people may start to be really happy. But from a regulatory standpoint, we have nothing to do with those people.
Interesting. So talk us through this. You go out, you had a multi-million-dollar goal, right? You didn't expect a few $100,000. You were targeting millions of dollars. The world is new to cryptocurrency. You had never raised money in the past. Just describe what it felt like going through the process in which you kicked off the token sale and when you actually closed with millions of dollars in the bank.
Yeah, it was exciting, scary, thrilling, brutal, sadistic. So I as an entrepreneur, and I'm sure everyone in this room probably has similar patterns. When you encounter something new as an entrepreneur, you want to learn everything you possibly can about it because you want to know what you're getting into, how's it going to work. I read every single thing I could get my hands on, every video, every blog, I read books. I wanted to know, what is this that I'm getting into? And luckily there was a lot of content out there. So we basically were able to set this up with some help. We got some vendors, and we had some contractors helping us for things like the website, building the smart contract, which is the mechanism that you do the token sale with. And once that was set up, it basically is a marketing exercise. And hey, I'm a marketer. So there was one little niche where, okay, I know what I'm doing here. So point me in the right direction and I can find our people. There are some crazy things in crypto world that are different than normal marketing world. But you know, we were able to get out there at the right time. Yeah. When we had our token sale, things were really cooking and everything was getting a lot of attention. Shortly after our token sale, there have been some really high profile ones that actually have failed and have had to restart their token sale or cancel it even in the current environment.
Was there ever a point in which you didn't think it was going to work?
Every day.
Really? Was it a steady build, or were there like certain points in time where like there was a massive spikes in people purchasing the tokens?
Well, there was the day that we decided to change blockchains for our project. That was super scary.
Why? Where did you start?
So we were on Ethereum to begin with, and we moved to Neo.
Why?
For some technical reasons. It's faster, more transactions per second. It was lesser known blockchain at the time, and a less crowded space. Ethereum is where all the token sales were happening, and Neo had just very few, so we were a big fish in a smaller pond. It was an excellent PR move. I really credit that. That was Ted's idea, and it was one of those moments where he's like, I think we should switch to Neo, and I was like, are you crazy? We had to redo the smart contract, all this at the last minute.
Why do people give a shit?
Which blockchain we're on?
Yeah.
Most people don't. I'd say most people involved in our project wouldn't care that much.
That's why it was newsworthy.
It was newsworthy because the Neo people, it's like tribes in crypto world. There are the Bitcoin maximalists, yeah, and there's the Ethereum people, and then there's the Neo people, and the Neo people are trying to surge up there and get attention. They're based in China. They're like really trying to get their voices heard. And so for a US company to come and do their token sale on Neo was a really big deal. We were the first, maybe the second, I'll have to check that. But anyway, it was big news at the time, and a lot have followed us since then.
Yeah, so it's kind of those news spikes brought a lot of interest in. People are buying the tokens. You guys are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. And is there a definitive date when it ends, or is it just kind of a rolling end?
March 30th
Is it like
of this year.
Is it like Kickstarter where like if I don't raise the $5 million I set to raise, I get nothing? Like what are the terms of?
Yeah, so you set those up when you set up the token sale, and it's in the smart contract, it's a mechanism that happens whether you want it to or not. Like once it's set in motion, it's going to do its thing based on what you build it to do. So we ended March 30th. We set a soft cap and a hard cap. So a soft cap is, if we don't reach this, we're going to return the funds to people. Hard cap was basically, this is what we are hoping to raise. And if we raise more than that, we don't want to. Because, it sounds crazy, but you don't want too much money funneling in at that point in the project. You want to take the amount that you have a strategy to spend wisely.
Did you find that like a few people bought a lot, or was it pretty distributed amongst everyone?
It was crazy distributed all over the globe. My son learned some new countries that he wasn't aware existed. We were running down the list of all the countries from all the people who contributed. It was amazing.
That's really cool. So this was March of this year that closed, and now all of a sudden you have how much did you raise for that?
$5 million.
You have $5 million in the bank. Oh, by the way, you have a company that you didn't transition that is still active. You have people all around the world that are expecting you to deliver something of value in a way that you painted the picture of the world. How do you manage all this? What do you do next?
One of the first things we did was hire catch talent because we knew we needed people. Because we already had been running a business for a really long time, I think we had a good grip on, okay, once we have the funds, here we know what we're going to do to set this up. We knew we needed office space, we knew we needed programmers, we knew what we were building pretty much. So it was just a matter of getting the puzzle pieces in place and making sure that we could execute on the plan. So it was like ready, set, go. We had things ready to go by the end of the token sale. We already were out looking for a space. We already were having those conversations, like who do we need on the team? We convinced our CTO from Seattle to move here to Charleston, and I don't think he's ever going back.
Why would he?
Yeah.
So when are people expecting this product? Yesterday?
We have an alpha active. So the minute token sale ended, we already had an alpha available for them to start using those tokens. Really, really important from a regulatory standpoint because we're a utility token for the nerds out there. And you need to have utility for the token for it to be a utility token. So the platform actually was accessible to people who participated in the token sale right from that minute.
What platform?
So you could suggest niches, you could buy niches,
So
you
you're already
could
doing
vote.
development
Yeah.
during the token sale.
Well, we had a running head start because a lot of our Hoopla platform, because it's an engagement platform, a lot of the guts of that we could pull code from, which, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, so we sort of leapfrogged with that. Now, however, today, most of those guts have been switched out. As soon as we brought the developers on board, they started like pulling it apart and creating it anew. But in order to have something available on day one, we grabbed what we could.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting with Social Strata. It seems like a slow build over 20 years where you really understood the problem set and you evolved and you got smarter and the product got better and you got really big customers like Pinterest. What you're doing now seems totally opposite, where you had this great idea, you went out and raised money, and now you need to deliver it yesterday. So talk to us a little bit about the difference in the product development strategy of a slow build that's bootstrapped versus I have $5 million in the bank that I actually need to spend really quickly because people are expecting something really quickly.
It's a really different model, and from a team standpoint, we were really used to being very nimble and fast and building in enhancements to the platform. It's very mature. Hoopla, because it's been around for so long, the feature set is crazy deep. It's very mature. It's, by now, if we're adding things, it's, we're taking tweezers and moving this hair over to this side, right? It's very, not shaking things up too much. Whereas this is something we're building out of whole cloth. It just doesn't exist in nature right now. So the team had to immediately sit down and think about what infrastructure do we need to support this thing to even scale and things like that we've already tackled years ago. For Hoopla, this is a whole different thing. So coming back and thinking about, well, how would I do this in my dream world, starting over, it's been kind of cool to have that as a do-over, like building it from scratch.
I'm so interested in this topic, and the topic for me starting my own company and many in the room is that of an MVP, right? You start really small. You try to solve one problem for one person, and then you kind of grow and you learn, and similar to what you did with Social Strata. The value in that is that you don't overcommit to something before you know that, well, if you're doing it right, that you're solving a problem that a customer is going to pay for, that you can build a successful business around. It seems like in the world that you're in, with a white paper that just like defines exactly what this is going to be, there's a much different strategy around that. So how are you confident that what you developed in the white paper is what is correct? Like, how do you know that you just didn't miss in the white paper?
I think what's going to keep us sane and keep us honest is our community, because they very much are invested in this, and not just a lot of them, not even from a financial standpoint, just the passion that's in our community. I think you saw that a little bit. If you go in there, they are noodling on the minutia of the day-to-day of how is this thing going to look and feel. And many parts of it, haven't even been designed and built yet by the developers. Very cool that they're having an input and on the direction of things, right? From right now, someone could have a really cool idea in our community, and it could potentially end up in the platform.
What if it really questions one of the assumptions you made in the paper? What if Ted wakes up and is like, holy shit, like this community member makes me think differently about this problem, and I feel like we need to go right when we told the world we're going left? Like, how do you balance those conversations and those decisions?
I think what is guiding us is kind of our guiding values of transparency, respect for the customer. At a high level, if we get an idea like that, if it's still fulfilling the values we described in our manifesto, and go read our manifesto, it's online, then it's something we would consider doing. If it's going to get us to that end state of the promised land, then it's okay to do that. And there have been a couple cases where we fleshed things out, or we had to make a tweak that actually changed things that were in the white paper. We actually changed the reward distribution recently.
That seems like a big deal.
It was a big deal. It was a decision that we did not take lightly, but we're learning things even during the alpha phase. I mean, that's what an alpha is for, right? For the nerds again. We're seeing how patterns emerging with the way people behave in the platform. One thing we saw is that people tend to not come back and enjoy coming back to vote for things. If they came and bought a niche, or they came and they participated in the community, they may not want to vote, because the core right now with the niches is upvoting and downvoting them.
Pause 1 second. So high level, what's in it? Like, what is narrative? What's a niche? So as you describe, everyone's keeping up.
We didn't do that, right? So it's a content platform. There are 3 areas in it. One is your personal journal, which is public. All content is public. The other thing is niches. These are subject areas. So think of them almost like a super hashtag. Any content can be submitted to a niche. A niche has an owner. It also has a moderator or more controlling the content that gets accepted into the niche. There will also be publications, which will be space for brands to control the content. So the way the niches come into being is you suggest one, anyone can suggest one, they get accepted into the community, they have to get enough votes, they have to get at least 20 votes, this is a good idea, and then they go up for auction, like an eBay style auction. If you own a niche that's popular, you actually get a slice of the rewards pool based on that. So the popularity of the content in your niche will earn you rewards. The pie also gives rewards to the moderators. So basically all these people that are driving the economic engine are getting rewarded for their efforts. Content creators get the biggest chunk of the pie.
When I hear you talk about this, I would say you're describing social strata because you describe so much that it has had to take 20 years to build. So just be real with us for a moment. What are you most scared of? You're describing an incredibly deep experience, and there's a lot on the line. So when you think about all of these people that are expecting something and going through, you are a startup, even though you've had 20 years with this other company, what keeps you up at night? What are you most scared of?
I think right now it's timing. We have to deliver this thing in a timely fashion before the market moves on to the next thing. It's really important for us to get this thing done and deliver on our promises, because even though we have this track record with Social Strata, we don't, the market could just yawn. They could say, well, whatever, we're doing this next thing and see you guys later, if we don't deliver what we said we're going to deliver. If we do deliver what we said we're going to deliver, it's going to be a big deal, because there aren't that many projects that have gone through a token sale that actually have a consumer usable product out there. So it will be huge when we do that, but that does keep me up at night. I mean, I know we're going to deliver. We have the A team working on this, but it's definitely something that's my word is my bond. And over this, as an entrepreneur, this is something that's very important to me. If I say I'm going to do something, it's going to happen, or I will be dead on the floor. So it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. when is the official launch?
I can't tell them.
What quarters? What year?
So the updated alpha with all new UIs and all prettiness happening is coming soon. Maybe within the next couple of weeks, potentially. And then the beta, which is the really big deal where content will be involved, is by the end of the year. So, but you really have to ask our developers if you want the real answer.
So let's say you launched yesterday, hypothetically. What's the best day ever today? What happened?
I just want to see lots and lots and lots of people saying, wow, this is exactly what I hoped it was going to be. I really want our community, those hardcore people who have been with us since day one, to say, wow, this is what I envisioned when I came on. So I really want to deliver for those people.
And how do you measure success?
I think we're targeting signups. We want registered users, we want active users. So for people to come back. So not just for them to register and go away, I want them to come back over and over again and enjoy the experience.
Yeah, based on the white paper, what scale does this need to be on to make everything work? Like, is it 500 users, 500,000 users, 1 million users, 10 million users? What are we talking about?
We've analyzed some of the other big content platforms and how they grew over the first few years. So our big stake in the ground is 500,000 registered users by the end of year 2. So.
Okay. And once you launch, how do you guys make money? Do you keep doing token sales and just keep raising money?
No, more token sales.
How does this all come together?
The company gets 15% of the rewards pool, and that's permanent, fixed, not going to change. So we feel the token economics work out, doing the math, that we can live on that, we can live within our means. We are not out there doing champagne parties in Singapore like some of the other projects. So we're running this like a real business, and we can live within our means, within the 15%.
All right, so that's the best day ever. Let's picture the worst day ever. What happens if you don't launch? Not that you won't, but just in general. Like someone raises $5 million and they just weren't able to operationally and strategically deliver what they said they would. What happens?
That's the other side of being an entrepreneur. You're gonna fail. And we've shuttered businesses before. It unfortunately is something that happens, but I think you have to be able to pick yourself up and either tweak the idea that you had and pivot in a different direction, or try again. It's not a matter of, this one thing is I'm gonna die if it doesn't happen, even though I said, do it or die. But I think the entrepreneur personality is you kind of already have the next idea brewing anyway, so.
But do you owe your own money? Do you go to jail? Do you use your name on like some list somewhere of like, don't let this team raise an ICO again? Like what?
Well, the pets.com people started something after that, didn't they? No, I truly, in my deepest gut, I know this is going to work. So I can't even really see a horizon where it's just like a big fail. We're going to deliver, but I can't really see, like, there's no plan B for this. This is it. This is happening. And Social Strata is still going full force too, so there's always that.
Yeah, we're gonna open it up for Q&A in like 3 minutes, but just talk a little bit about that. So you and Ted are running both companies, or you found leadership of the other. What's the dynamic there? Are people in Social Strata like pissed that they're not part of this new thing? Are they taking ownership of it? Like, how do you, as a leader, ensure that both of these endeavors are successful?
We do have resource sharing. So, there are some economies of scale when you've got a team that already knows what it's doing. So there is some overlap there. But, Social Strata, it's just a beautiful mechanism that is working. And I don't want to say it runs itself because we do put in significant time on it. And, those customers, we've kind of built it so that we can serve them in a really efficient way through our online community, et cetera. They're pretty low maintenance in general. It's something that works, and it's just going fine.
Awesome. All right, I got two final questions that are related. The first is, what is advice you hear people often receive that you don't believe is good advice? And then, what's your best advice for people in the room?
I think in terms of bad advice, I hate it when people say, follow your passion. Like that whole sort of, like, what do I love? What color is my parachute? Or whatever that thing was. Like, I think it's good to do something that you enjoy doing, but dude, sometimes you just have to work hard. Like, you just have to realize sometimes it's gonna suck and you're gonna have to just slog through it, suck it up and do it. So I don't like it when people, especially to people just coming out of school and stuff, like, you know, find your dream and follow your dream.
So to counter that, what's some good advice?
Some good advice. I would say constantly be curious and learning. I think that's like my superpower, my secret sauce of like, I'm not afraid to, I'm 53, you guys. I heard someone say the other day, I can't do this blockchain, I don't know what that is, you know, and they were like my age, and they just, it's too intimidating. I'm like, don't let things intimidate you. Just dive in and learn about it. There's nothing preventing you from, you know, you guys are more of a young crowd, you don't really get this so much, but you know, don't stop doing that. Don't stop being that way and waking up and what can I learn today and what new thing can I try today, and maybe it'll break, maybe it won't. It's like, just go try it. You know, I could have, when Ted came to me with his crazy blockchain idea, I could have been like, oh, we already have a company. But I'm so glad we dove in. It's been crazy and fun, and I wouldn't change it.
I like it. One more question. What's the best book you've read recently?
Ooh, I really love Hug Your Haters by Jay Baer. I don't know, has anyone here read that one yet? Hug Your Haters. It's really good. It's about what do you do when people come and say you suck, basically. Like, how do you deal with that disgruntled customer or someone who's not drinking the Kool-Aid, which does happen.
I like it. Well, we got some time for Q&A, so who's going to kick us off? Who has a question? Right there.
When you did the SEO, were there regulatory concerns or hurdles when you did that? And if so, or if not, have those concerns or hurdles changed into present day?
Yeah, the environment has definitely changed, and one cool thing that's happened is that the FTC, they've actually come out with a space where you can go and you can actually approach them proactively and get help and advice as you're starting to go down that path. That didn't exist when we started out. We could almost do a whole separate interview on the token sale process, but lots of due diligence for us in terms of the utility token, security token thing. Where was our company going to be incorporated? Ultimately, we felt like it was just honest to be here in the US. We're a US company. We're going to just live with it. A lot of folks take it offshore. They're friendlier places, but then you need a bank. So lots of concerns about converting the tokens to regular cash, things like that. The environment has definitely changed. I think once we reach sort of certainty, more regulatory certainty, it's going to get a lot easier because you'll know what you're dealing with. There still is not, it's all gray area right now. They're going after the low-hanging fruit of people who are true scam artists right now. But at the time that we had our token sale, it was pretty much all bets are off.
Right there.
Well, I just want to commend you, first of all, for having a working product that you brought to the marketplace, you know, with the token sale, because it's so rare in the space, and there's, you know, so many people that have no intention of even building a working product and just accept millions of dollars. But I guess my question is, you know, what are your future plans for the liquidity of the token? Are there certain exchanges that you'd like to be on, or at this stage of, you know, where a retail investor like myself could get his hands on some of the token?
Yeah, we're already on 3 exchanges. So if you go to our website, narrative.org, there's information about those. Obviously, we can't have any direct impact on the exchange activity. But yeah, we are already listed. And ultimately, I really believe that the value of the token will be driven by the value of the platform. So that's why I'm so focused on delivering the beta, because I really think once we have something functioning, we can show the world, hey, we did this. That is going to support the value of the token ultimately.
Actually, sort of on those same lines, is the smart contract you entered, does that preclude you from future financing rounds if you need to raise capital?
No.
So you mentioned you had a 15% take of the rewards, and that should be enough to sustain you in future acquisitions or product development. What if it's not? Do you get a right of first refusal if you're one of the token holders? Do you just go to outside capital? How do you prevent dilution? Do you own capital in it, or do you own tokens yourselves? I mean, are there specific rules and regulations in regard to that?
Yeah, so the team does have tokens, and there's a token minting process over a long period of time, like 30 years, and the graphics or the data on that is in the white paper that's on the website. But also, there's nothing precluding us from going out, if we were crazy enough to do so, to do another funding round, either through a token sale or through traditional financing. If we felt that we needed additional funds, there's nothing stopping us from doing that.
And how does that relate to dilution of the current?
Probably, it would depend on what the deal was. So if we were to do, say, like traditional VC, that would probably be an equity deal for the company itself, which is a separate entity. The company is actually a thing. So you could actually have equity in the company without affecting the token.
And have you seen any price appreciation in the token, or the same price?
It's been wacky like the whole rest of the market. The altcoins are, they're their own beast. Seeing some recovery with the major tokens right now, but we're on the same roller coaster ride with everybody else. So that's why I said I think once we release the beta, we may differentiate ourselves and have our own value separately supported. But for right now, we're sort of riding along with the market ups and downs.
If I understand correctly, narrative right now is a Neo token. Is there once narrative goes into beta or production, will there be a swap into its own native token, or will it remain the Neo token?
We actually have our own NEP5 token called NERV.
Okay.
Yeah, NRVE. So it's not actually Neo, it's our own thing. But there's nothing. I won't dogmatically say that at some point we wouldn't do another token or do some kind of token swap if we wanted to change blockchains or things like that. So
It would just stay the same token it is right now.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm all for a decentralized world, but I've seen a lot of groups forced out of other social media platforms, like YouTube and Twitter, maybe hate groups, terrorist organizations. Do you have something in place to stop them from infiltrating your platform? Because I've seen that on Schema, where I've seen a lot more hate groups in recent times coming to that platform.
Yeah, one big difference with narrative that I don't think I touched on is the reputation system. We really feel like that's what's going to be the difference for that sort of activity. So within the platform, as you are active, you earn reputation. Your content is also rated by the other members. So the theory is, this is all a big social experiment. I think we all realize that. The theory is that people who are bad actors, their content will be buried or suppressed over time. The company itself, we will not be making any moderation decisions. We will not be deleting any accounts. It will be purely community-led. And content can be reported. It can be flagged. And so I think reputation over time, if they're screaming into an empty space and no one's seeing their stuff, then we're hoping that will actually suppress the bad stuff.
If people report and flag, but there's no rules because it's decentralized, what are they reporting and flagging?
Well, we do have moderation for the niches. So the niche moderator can actually not accept content into their niche if they choose to. Also, if something gets flagged, it's going to go into a moderation pool. This is getting pretty far into the weeds, but there's also an age rating system. We're going to have people prove we're going to do age check, so that if you prove that you're over 18, then you can see the content that has been flagged into the moderation pool and vote on whether it should remain or be buried. So adults will be able to go in as a group, as a community, and make those decisions themselves.
All right, we've got time for one or two more questions. My favorite question man in the back.
That's my blockchain peeps.
What would you say? I mean, so there's a lot of traditional social media platforms out there. Then there's some decentralized ones, and then there's blockchain and cryptocurrency type of based social media platforms that are out there. Would you make a comparison to any others, or what would you say your pitch is to use narrative instead of any of the other things that are already out there?
Yeah, I'd say Steam Steemit comes closest, with us having a different reputation system where your reputation is not based on how many tokens you hold. That's one of the big problems with Steemit as I see it right now. We also are not going to be hosting content on the blockchain to start with. Our vision is to be as decentralized as possible over the long term, but to start with, content is not great on the blockchain right now. We need things to be editable and truly deletable. You know, in Steemit, if you want to delete something, you remove the text and you write the word delete it. And there's also lag time, there's other issues with that. So until those challenges are solved somehow, and they could be, we're going to be probably centralized with the content or using some type of database system. Yeah.
All right. Last question.
Being, like I said, one of the first projects to launch in America on Neo, which is mainly China-based, do you know if your programmers have had any issues with things getting lost in translation, with communicating with China as far as how Neo works?
The big thing was the time difference for some of that, but most of the City of Zion is the developer group that works on Neo, and they're kind of all over the globe. They're not necessarily all in China, they're actually everywhere. So that wasn't too much of a problem, the language barrier. It was really more just time zones of if we needed help. Like there was one night when there was a problem with the Neo wallet that affected us, and we had to get them to come fix it. And so, yeah, it's more a global time zone issue than language.
Awesome.
Thank you. Is that the geekiest startup grind ever?
The most interesting.